I am back as promised. I'm back. We're back for our nightly live. How's everybody doing today? How's your grief today? How did it go today while you were up, out, about? We even have some grief coming because there's a holiday. We have holiday grief coming. Even okay, hear me out. Hear me out on this because I want to say this to everybody. Even if you don't follow the holiday, if this is not your thing, you can feel some holiday grief from because everybody around is getting prepared for the holiday. Everybody around is doing something that's like the energy is around is it feels like the holiday. So it's a sort of a strange thing. The air of holiday being in the air can cause us to feel like there's a lot going on and it can bring up grief. I had a beautiful, beautiful client today call me. I'm sorry, she sent me a text with some photos of things that reminded of her mom and the holiday. You know, those things happen for us. Those things happen for us this time of year. We get memories. Mother's Day is coming up. Father's Day is coming up. Let's say your dad died. All right. Let's say you're grieving your dad, but Mother's Day is coming up. It'll bring grief to you. Anything that feels like a memory, anything that brings energy of that grief can absolutely bring up some grief for you. Anything like that, right? So, hey everybody, how you doing? I'm in all the places again. Okay. Today I said we're going to be doing reacting to grief. 4 things that we do. We resist our grief. We react to our grief. We avoid our grief and we pretend. So we've done resisting, we did avoiding and pretending. And even though they're a lie, avoiding is things that we do internally, it's for us. And pretending is things that we do outwardly, which shows on the outside of our body, on the outskirts of us. We do it as an outward emotion. We absolutely avoid. I want to start off. I have a list of things that we do to react to our grief, but I want to start off with this. When I first started out as a grief specialist many, many years ago, I had a beautiful woman who came in and she was doing some grief. She wasn't sure she was grieving. This is the other thing. She's like, I'm not grieving. No one has died. But I just want you to know that I cry all the time. She said, I cry all the time. I cry at diaper commercials. It was one of the reasons that I say diaper commercials all the time. I cry at puppy commercials. Anybody says anything, and she would just burst out into tears. So in that first meeting, I didn't know. I didn't know if she had grief or not. But I was like, come in, try the class, see what it feels like, right? Come in, try the class, see what it feels like. And beautiful, beautiful woman. Enjoyed working with her. Turns out when she was 12 years old, her dad died unexpectedly. And I want to say something to you. I want to say something to you guys all. This is unexpectedly, crying unexpectedly. The absence of a parent in our life will cause grief. The absence of a parent in our life will cause grief. Hey, Miss Erica, the absence of someone absolutely showing up for us in our life is a grieving experience. What does that mean? Oh, I spelled this wrong. It means this. If your mom is always there for you and you get to be 5 years old and mom dies, Jesus Christ. Oh, don't say the Lord's name in vain. Hold on, you guys. I'm like having a hard time spelling tonight. Unexpectedly. Okay, we got it. Not having your parent in your life, you think I'm having a hard time. Let me see, Tedly. Okay, perfect. I was looking at it from here and I'm like, that's not spelled right. You not having a parent in your life, the absence of a parent is a grieving experience. Let me say that again. The absence of a parent is a grieving experience. Your parents get a divorce. You're 6 years old. Your dad moves away. You don't see your dad. That's a grieving experience. The absence of the dad, the longing and wanting the dad who has never shown up for you, who's never been there for you, is a grieving experience. Wanting mom to be a different mom is a grieving experience. So, when she was 12 years old, her dad was killed unexpectedly. She was raised without him. Here's the other thing that happens to us. The other thing that happens to us is that we get used to not having dad around. We get used to not having that person around, right? This is my life. Oh, my mom remarried. I have a stepdad. It fills the void. But think about being a young girl and the first time you go out, you go to a dance and someone mistreats you. You go home and you tell your mom and your stepdad turns on you and says, well, it's probably your fault. You probably weren't acting appropriately. Whatever. I'm just making this up. That makes you long for your dad. Well, if my dad was here, he wouldn't say that to me. If my dad was here, he wouldn't do that. Your parent could still be alive. We can grieve anyone, living or deceased. So the longing of a parent is absolutely a grief. So I took a long, long time to say that. This beautiful lady was reacting to everything. And the truth was, when we got down into it, it was actually her grief. When we got down into the nitty-gritty of it, she was actually grieving. She was grieving the loss of her dad. She was grieving the longing for her dad. She was crying unexpectedly. This is reacting. It's reacting to our grief. We cry. I don't want to number them. Anger is reacting. Crying is reacting. Short temper. Look what I put here, though. Crying unexpectedly, when I finally got it spelt right. Crying unexpectedly. This is a different type than just crying, right? Crying is reacting in a way. Crying, just regular crying, is reacting to our grief. But this is a specific type of crying I'm talking about. You cry at diaper commercials. You cry at the baby commercials. You cry when someone gives you good news. You cry when someone gives you bad news. You're just crying all the time because the grief is so in there. Over talking. Over talking. Some of the reasons we do this because we don't want to talk about the grief. So we just keep the conversation going. We keep the conversation going because we don't want to be talking about the grief. That might be the reason that you're doing that. Over talking absolutely is a grieving experience. I like this light on, but I hate when it's shining on there. Shutting down completely. Shutting down, not talking, not sharing your grief, not talking about your grief to anyone, not sharing your grief with people who are around you, not sharing your grief with people who are close to you. And this one is huge, friends. This next one is huge. Looking for someone to blame. Looking for someone to blame. Now, I have looking for someone to blame, looking for something to blame, looking for some action of blame, looking for the blame. Hello, Miss Rosa. How are you? You tricked me. You came in through the Facebook group this time. Looking for someone to blame. It's got to be someone's fault. It has to be someone's fault. Someone has to be responsible for what happened, right? That is reacting. These are all reacting to our grief. I love these four definitions that we've gone over, resisting, reacting, because it encompasses all of us who don't know how to grieve. It encompasses all of this stuff. Hello, Christy. How are you doing? Replaying memories. Did I say replaying memories? Replaying memories. Replaying memories over and over and over again in our head is a form of reacting to our grief. Replaying the memories over and over again in our head. Here's the other thing. A lot of times this memory we're replaying is the same one. Sometimes it has the same theme. It can have the same theme. It can be from the last day. It can be from the day you're at the hospital, but replaying that memory over and over again, right? Fixation is a way of reacting. Fixating on justice or an answer. This happens a lot I'm going to say it, with death by suicide. This happens a lot. We're looking for the justice or we need the answer. This also happens a lot with murder. We're looking for the justice. We need the answer. These happen a lot there. We become the detective. We are trying to solve the case. We go out to solve the case. That is a form of reacting to the grief. Why is it reacting? It's reacting because you're not grieving. If I can go here and be all about looking for the answer, and this answer is there's only one question, you guys. Why? Not always one, because there's also how. But if I can go out and start looking for the answer for this, then I don't have to grieve. I can get all into that case. Comparing. Comparing your grief to others. You feel like you should be doing better. You feel like you're hurting more than someone else. You start judging your grief against others. My grief is worse than hers. Her grief is worse than mine. We start judging our grief. Then we're looking at them to see what their grief is like. I know. Over functioning. She said, don't use that word. It doesn't matter. They're always going to get me. Over functioning, right? You dive into work. We see this also in pretending, and we also see it in avoiding. You dive into work, you take on too much, you stay busy. Over functioning also focuses here. Struggling to focus. Struggling to focus, grief fog takes over and you just let it run rampant. You don't try to get out of the grief fog. You just let it be there. But I'm not talking about the normal everyday grief fog. This has gone over months, days, and weeks. Sometimes you can't even complete a sentence. You forget things. You forget simple tasks. You're not paying bills. I would have to say that this one, which is number 14, probably lasts a little bit longer than the 6 months. Feeling like you're going crazy, over apologizing, becoming overprotective. All right. Laughing at inappropriate times. You guys, I bet you didn't know this was one of those. Laughing at the wrong time, laughing at inappropriate times. It's a defense mechanism. Your brain is trying to protect you, so it throws in the laugh. It throws in the laughter. I don't know about you guys, but on TikTok, I've been seeing the videos where the people are bringing this stuff to work. They're filling their mouths with water. And I think it's so funny. But anyway, they bring something. You bring this, and then everybody just burst out laughing. They're trying not to laugh, but it feels to me like everything they're bringing is funny. Well, that's what happens with the grief. Doesn't matter what the person says. It doesn't matter what they're doing. They could be sharing some grief. They could actually be crying about your grief, and you just start laughing. It's a protection mechanism. It is also a reacting. This one is huge, you guys. This one is huge. Replacing the loss. Replacing the loss. Here's the other thing, and you guys hear me talk about this all the time, but reacting is 100% intellectual. It 100% is happening in the brain. Replacing the loss. I know there's people in here going, what are you talking about? There are people that absolutely react to their grief by trying to replace the loss. I have people that have started dating 2 weeks after their loss. They've gone out and got a new fur baby. They've gotten a new job, right? They've gone out. We encourage people who lose their dog, well, go get a new dog. We tell them to go get a new dog. And I mean, how many of you have friends that have been married? This is their fifth time. They're on their fifth marriage, right? People will encourage you to do it, and you will do it. I know there are people in the group that are like, in all of these groups, I can't replace my mother. But you may not replace her with a mom, but you will replace her with a mother figure. You'll replace her with a friend. You'll replace her with your neighbor. You start hanging out with your neighbor. We replace the space. Even to this day, I don't have a Sharon, but that's by choice. But I could very much have replaced her. I just choose not to. Becoming obsessed with time. There's an E in here. Becoming obsessed with time. You replay the timeline over and over again. You dread upcoming dates like anniversaries, Easter coming up, Good Friday. Good Friday. You might not even be a Christian, and this Friday is already driving you crazy because you know all of your friends are going to be doing it. They're going to be celebrating. They're going to be celebrating Easter, and you don't have anyone to share it with, but you're obsessed with time, dates. You're obsessed with, you're looking at the calendar. Oh, and this time last year, this was happening. This was happening this time last year. You getting you get the reminders through photos, right? And you start thinking of all the things you were doing last year, but you really become obsessed with it. Now, hear me out, friends. You may have some of these. You might have all of these, but it's okay. This is where we're at. This is where we're at in our grief. This is the thing that happens with our grief right now. Erica said, yes, she's dread the anniversary, but I love the day all the same. Feeling stuck in guilt. Friends, I can't even tell you how many times people have told me I feel guilty, and people absolutely get stuck there. And so I have a little thing that I do. I'll try to help them get out of the guilt. Most times it's regret. So we try to help them get to regret. Sometimes we can't, but feeling stuck in the guilt is reacting to the grief. 100%. Waking up with dread, losing interest in things, yelling and screaming at your spouse, yelling and screaming at your mom or your dad who is still alive, taking it out on your children, yelling at people at work, just being mad, yelling at people in the car while you're driving, just being mad at the world is reacting to your grief. Just so pissed off that people still have their parents and you don't have their parents. You don't have parents. Being jealous because you see someone else that they're in the mall and they're holding hands and you instantly get jealous. It's a form of reacting to our grief. I'm not trying to change this tonight. I just want you to be aware of it. We react to our grief because we don't know what else to do with it. So we react to the grief. All right. Most people don't realize that they're reacting to the grief because no one has even told them what this looks like. But what I did was I only came up with 25. There's a lot more than 25 ways of reacting. Some of them start to mesh together, right? Some of them start to mesh together. I had a beautiful client a few years back that came in to see me, and she just, on the phone, she just said, I'm just yelling and screaming at my kids. That's what brought her. She wanted to be able to talk to her kids better. Turned out it was a ton of grief. A ton of grief. Most people don't realize they're reacting to their grief because no one has told them about it. And then they start wondering why they're feeling angry, why they're feeling numb, and why they feel like they're going crazy. When we don't acknowledge the reacting to our grief, we don't understand other things. We don't understand why we're stuck in the anger, why we're stuck in the numb, and why we feel crazy. It's all of this, friends. It's all of the reacting. Thank you, beautiful people. Thank you so much. It's all of the reacting. Grief isn't just sadness. It's going to come out in many different ways. It shows up in reacting. It shows up in resisting. It's always going to show up for us. All right, friends. I want to introduce myself real quick and tell you who I am and why I'm doing this for anyone that's new in the room. And I'll make it quick. My name is Sharon Brubaker, and I'm the founder of the Grieve School. The Grieve School is the place where healing takes place, where healing begins, where you jump onto your grief healing journey. I sit with women who are grieving every single day, and I help them understand what their reactions to the grief are. Why are they reacting in this way? And today we're going to break this down a little bit further, but I want women to feel heard, supported, and understood while they are on their unique grief healing journey. I had someone post in, thank you, Aida, that's beautiful. Look at you. I had someone post in the Facebook, well, men grieve too, and they absolutely do. And I work with men. It's not that I don't work with men. My groups are for women. Why? Because it's more women that come looking for it, because we're emotional beings and we come looking for the help. But I'll tell you this, if I get a man that comes to the grief healing program, he does all of his work. No questions asked. He just does what I tell him to do. It blows my mind. And us women, we come and we sit and we talk. And I'm like, okay, here's your homework assignment. They're like, oh, I'll do it. But do these jeans look fat on me? Yeah, girl, the jeans look great. Let's do your homework assignment. I know, but because we bring all the other stuff. So yes, I work with men, but I work with them one-on-one. We all grieve. Children grieve. Animals grieve. Animals grieve. What it means to react. Reacting is your body and brain's way of trying to survive the grief. That makes sense. Reacting is your brain and your body trying to survive this thing that has just happened to us. Our brain and our body is trying to figure out what the heck just happened to us. When you first come upon your grieving experience, you're not choosing how to react. You didn't go in, where's my grief book? You don't go into your grief book and go to chapter 6 and say, okay, well, I'm going to be tired. I'll take numb, and I'm going to take this, and I'm going to take that. It hits you all at once. It hits you all at once. It is not uncommon for the griever to be reacting, avoiding, pretending, all on the same day, because it hits you all at once, because you weren't given this book. You don't know how to respond to this. So typically we grab one for today, we grab one for tomorrow, and we just start doing all of them simultaneously. When you're reacting, you're not choosing how to respond. You're just doing it. without even thinking about it. Let me say that again. A reaction is automatic. It's instinctive. You get into survival mode. If you hear me out also on this, if you are a yeller screamer, you're going to be a griever who yells and screams. Your character doesn't change based on your grief. If you are selfish, you are going to grieve selfish. Period. That's just the way it is. Hello, my love, David. I just saw you. If you're selfish, you're going to grieve selfish. If you're a negative person, you're going to grieve negative. However you show up in life, whatever your character is, that's the way you're going to show up as a griever. You're in survival mode. Your body knows that it needs to shut this down. It needs to shut this pain down. And one of the ways that it will shut it down is absolutely with a door. I want to make a little door here. It will put a door. I know it looks like a jail, but it would put a door over your heart. It shuts it down so you don't have to experience it. Thank you, friends. It slams the door shut. And then what? Because this is slammed shut and we don't know what to do with all of these emotions, they've got to come out some way. So they start coming out. Crying in the grocery store. Right? Avoiding that song. I'm not listening to that song. I'm not driving down that street. Not saying his name. I'm not going to say their name. Not using the word death or died. Not using the word death or died. Only saying that they passed away. I don't have a problem with this. I just want you to acknowledge that that's where you're at. That's all. You're okay to do that. You just have to acknowledge that that's where you're at. I react to this pain. Now, this is where we get into trouble. I can't get the pain out of here because I shut it down. I put the door on. I've been using reacting for everything that I'm doing. I'm reacting to the grief, but I got to get it out some way. And this, friends, is why avoiding and reacting are sisters and they work together, right? Because now I'm going to start drinking my wine and I'm going to start eating my cookies and all of the other things that we do. Because we've got to get rid of the pain and we just shut it down. And as I'm saying this, I would imagine some of you are like, she's crazy. I didn't shut the pain down. It is the getting of the pain, the grief out in the proper way that I'm talking about. Your grief is screaming at you. Your grief is screaming at you. It's like a little bubble here. And says, I'm here. And you have your eyes closed because it's so painful. The grief is telling you that it's absolutely here, even if you don't acknowledge it. So I had a client a few years ago and her name was Carmen. And Carmen lost her daughter unexpectedly. And for the first 6 months, she didn't cry one time. She didn't cry. And it was actually freaking people out. Because can you imagine losing your one and only child and not crying? It was actually freaking people out. I think, she went into a little bit of be strong, into a little bit of survival mode. And she was angry. She was pissed. And she felt like if she cried, she was going to be admitting to everyone that they had won. And so she just wanted to hold it back. She wasn't crying, but let me tell you what she was doing. She was yelling at everybody who would come in her way. Everyone, including me, got in the way. Everyone. Because all she wanted was out of this pain. She just wanted out of this pain. She was having anxiety attacks in Target. She was spinning and doing stuff, getting stuff done. She set up a full Christmas dinner. And one day while she was doing all of this, I did everything I could in the beginning to try to get her to slow down. She told me she was fine. She's like, I'm fine. I'm just stressed out. I'm just a little stressed out. But she wasn't fine. She was hiding. She was hiding in everything that she could. She was 100% reacting to her grief. She was trying to do everything she could but grieve. Her grief was running the show, not her. Behind the scenes. And once I got her to slow down after the holidays and I got her to sit down and she was able to name the grief and the pain, this pain that was in her heart and the thing that she was most running from, she started to understand these reactions were really, that her reactions were really causing her grief and prolonging her grief. And she did her work. She did her much needed work. Why does this matter? When you recognize that your grief and you're reacting to your grief in a certain way, you start to understand that you're absolutely not crazy. You start to understand that you're not going crazy. You start to take your power back. You start to go through the grief in the way that it was meant to go through. Your reactions to grief are not bad by themselves. They're signals that something is going on and that you might be avoiding the grief pain in another way. And that's why we like to talk about it. That's why talking is so huge in the beginning. Your heart is saying this hurts. Your heart is sending a message to the brain. This hurts. It's your brain that's working in connection with the reacting to see if it can get the pain to go away. It's the one that's saying, well, yell, scream. Here's the other thing about reacting, and I want you guys to understand this. Sometimes we can be grieving really deeply, and we can yell and scream at someone in the room. We yell and scream at the teller in the bank. We yell and scream at the manager at the grocery store. We actually feel like we released something. We're like, that was the best release ever. I really feel so much better. But here's the truth. That was just yelling and screaming. If you're not going into here and looking at these emotions and naming them and releasing the emotions here, if you're just yelling and screaming, you're staying intellectual and you're just getting it out of your brain. You have to know what it is. You have to name the emotion. I want you guys the next time, I want you to do this one thing. Before you go off on somebody, before you yell and scream, take 5 minutes and ask yourself, why am I reacting to this grief right now in this way? Why am I wanting to yell and scream? Why am I avoiding driving down that street? Why don't I want to go that way? Are you angry about something and you don't know why? Start noticing. The first step for you is to notice. Notice that you don't want to go that way. Notice that they're saying something that you don't like. Notice that you feel uneasy. This happened to me yesterday. All of a sudden, I responded to some grief in a certain way. And I've got to be able to notice it and understand, why did I go there? And I guarantee you guys, I already found it out. I figured out what it was for me. But I guarantee you, it is probably always 99.9%. It is a thought. It's a thought about something or someone. Here's the other thing about the thoughts, and that's why I ask all the questions, because sometimes the thought is quiet and you can't hear it in the grief, and it plays off in your mind very quietly. And we're looking for this thought, but you're bringing me this. All right, friends, start noticing where you are, noticing when you're reacting. Notice if you had a reaction. By all means, don't judge yourself. If you go off, you walk in the kitchen and the dishes aren't done, and you go off on little Tommy for 10 minutes because the dishes aren't done, go and apologize to him. You know, we're probably going to have to apologize to little Tommy 20 or 30 times, and that's okay. But I want you to know this. I want you to know that you're going to go off a lot. Now you've got to go, what made me do that? Why did I do that? Why did I yell and scream at him? Why did I not like the dishes being done? You're going to go sit in there and figure out what it is for yourself. And you're going to work it back. And I bet you 9 times out of 10, it's going to lead you back to this brokenness. It's going to lead you back to your heart. All right, friends. My name is Sharon Brubaker. I'm the owner of the Grieve School. I'm going to end the other lives, but I want you to know this. I'm going to stay in TikTok. I'm going to answer some questions. We have Grief Study Hall tomorrow. It's at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. If you go to the link in the bio, or you are a friend on the grief support group, the Grief School, or you heal at the Grief School on Instagram, or you're in YouTube, you can find the link to the study hall. It's at 10 a.m. tomorrow Central Standard Time. And if you're ready to take this deeper, I want you to know, before you can get out of reacting, you've got to get into talking. It's got to come out of here. 1, you have to admit you're reacting. Number 2, you need to talk about it. You need to hear yourself say it out loud. Something happens. I'm glad you're going to be there, Erica. Something happens when we hear our voice say it out loud. I have my shirt on backwards again. Something happens when we hear ourselves say it out loud. If you're ready to go deeper, that is the best place to start. It's every Tuesday, every Thursday. Tuesday from 1 to 3, Thursday from 10 to 12. Did I say that right? Tuesdays and Thursdays. And then I'm here live. All right, friends, I want to say thank you. But more importantly, I want you to know that I see you. I see you as the griever. I see you in pain. I know that you're there. Rosa said, I do something like that with my friends. When she's talking about my sister, I start crying and I don't know what to do. Yeah, you don't know what to do with it. And it becomes uncomfortable. And it becomes very uncomfortable. Taylor's more about life. Yes, it's true. I don't understand. Thanks, Christy. I'll see you tomorrow. All right, friends. TikTok, stay there. I'm just going to head out of here. I'm going to end the live.